how men give points. Men give points differently from women? Oh, hello there. Welcome to Neon Mushroom. I'm not Mushroom. I'm the other guy. Before we get into today's gameplay video, there's a couple things I'd like to talk about. First, we did it. We did it, kids. We hit 1,000 subscribers. And what a video to celebrate that on today. You may have noticed that I'm not reading from a script this time. There was a commenter before that requested that I don't read from a script because I sound more natural when I do. Well, here we are. You're getting what you wanted. And also, before we get into today's gameplay video, you should be aware that there were a few mishaps in the editing process, especially because there were mishaps apparently in the recording process. I know some of you really like it when we go for quality instead of quantity, but the thing about the month of November is I want to die. I've been working on this video since Tuesday. I'm sorry, commenter. I've been stuck in Tuesday for a while. Though if I'm being honest, so have you. Right?
First up we have Calvin's Queen Marchesa deck. His opening hand includes a Soul Ring, Snow-Covered Mountain, Chaos Warp, Talisman of Indulgence, Mana Confluence, Arid Mesa, and Ghostly Prison. After that we have the Kumena deck again by Adrian, and his opening hand includes Kiora's Follower, Master of the Pearl Trident, Enclave Cryptologist, Nature's Claim, Flooded Strand, Island, and Breeding Pool. Next we have Foley, who is doing the partner pairing Silvar and Trynn, and his opening hand includes Outlaw's Merriment, Bastion of Remembrance, Fiend Hunter, Plains, Dragon Skull Summit, and Needle Verge Pathway. And then finally we have Ajdin playing Lord Windgrace, and his opening hand includes Assassin's Trophy, Deathrite Shaman, Mountain, Smoldering Marsh, City of Brass, and Misty Rainforest.
I swear to God, if you play this long, I will nature's clean the shit out of that. I swear to God.
Calvin won the die roll, so he will begin by playing his Snow-Covered Mountain, followed by Soul Ring, followed by Talisman of Indulgence, passing the turn.
Your turn. I'm gonna draw for turn. Fucking cunt. I'm gonna shock in Breeding Pool, and I'm gonna Nature's Claim your Soul Ring, game 4.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna draw a card.
Foley will drop a Dragon Skull Summit tap and pass the turn. And then Ajdin will play Command Tower, then cast Deathrite Shaman, ending the turn. Round 2, Calvin will untap, draw, and play Arid Mesa. He'll crack it and shock in Godless Shrine, dropping to 41. Then he'll tap out for Ghostly Prison, ending the turn. Adrian will untap, draw, and play an Island, tapping out to cast Kiora's Follower, ending the turn. Foley will untap, draw, and play a Plains, tapping out to cast Talisman of Indulgence, passing the turn. And then Ajdin will untap, draw, and play a Swamp, taking no further actions and passing the turn. Round 3, Calvin will untap, draw, and play a Mana Confluence. He'll tap out, losing 1 life to Mana Confluence and dropping to 40, and then cast his commander, Queen Marchesa. He'll become the Monarch, but hold Queen Marchesa back as a blocker, moving to end step and drawing a card. Adrian will untap, draw, and play Flooded Strand, cracking it for an Island, dropping to 37. He'll tap out to cast his commander, Kumena, Tyrant of Orazca, then uses Kiora's Follower's ability to untap his Breeding Pool, passing the turn. Foley will untap, draw, and play a Swamp, then tap out to cast one of his commanders, Trynn, Champion of Freedom, ending the turn. Ajdin will untap, draw, and play a Misty Rainforest, moving to his end step. On end step, Adrian will cast Pognify, targeting Queen Marchesa, which gives Calvin a 3/3 token as he rezones his commander. Round 4, Calvin will untap, draw, and play a Shinka the Blood-Soaked Keep, and taps it and his Talisman to cast Rakdos Signet. Then he'll tap out, losing 1 life to Mana Confluence and dropping to 39, and cast Smothering Tithe, moving to end step. On his end step, Ajdin will cast Assassin's Trophy, targeting Smothering Tithe, which will resolve, netting Calvin a Snow-Covered Swamp. Calvin will draw a card off Monarch and end the turn. Adrian will untap, draw, and play a Mana Confluence, then tap out, losing 1 life to Mana Confluence and dropping to 36, and cast Guardian Project. He'll use Kiora's Follower to untap Breeding Pool, then tap it to cast Enclave Chronologist, triggering Guardian Project and drawing a card. Foley will untap, draw, and play a General's Enforcer. Then he'll drop a Needleverge Pathway face up, then tap out to cast Bastion of Remembrance, creating a 1/1 Human Soldier token. He'll attack Ajdin with Trynn, dealing 3 commander damage and dropping Ajdin to 37, and then move to End Step, which triggers Trynn's ability and creates a 1/1 human token. On his end step, Ajdin will crack his Misty Rainforest and shocks in an Overgrown Tomb, dropping him to 34. He'll activate Deathrite Shaman, exiling Pognify from Adrian's graveyard, causing each opponent to lose 2 life. Then, Ajdin will untap, draw, and play a Mountain. Then with Deathrite Shaman, exile Calvin's Arid Mesa so that he'll have the mana to cast his commander, Lord Wingrace. He'll tick up Lord Wingrace, discarding his City of Brass and drawing 2 cards, ending the turn. Round 5, Calvin will untap, draw, and play Maze of Ith. He'll then cast a Skull Clamp, equipping it to his 3/3 token, moving to end step and drawing a card off Monarch, passing the turn. Adrian will untap, but on his upkeep, Calvin will cast Tear, targeting his Guardian Project. The enchantment is destroyed, and then Adrian draws for turn. He plays Hinterland Harbor and casts Growing Rites of Itlamok, losing 1 life to Mana Confluence and dropping to 33, triggering it and revealing a Thieving Skydiver, adding it to his hand. He'll tap the rest of his mana for 2, then tap Kira's Follower to untap 1 land, netting 1 more mana to cast and kick Thieving Skydiver for 1, targeting Skullclamp. With the trigger on the stack, Calvin will cast Chaos Warp, targeting Skullclamp, denying Adrian the theft and revealing a No Mercy off the top of Calvin's library. Then Adrian will use Kumena's ability to tap the rest of his creatures, drawing a card. He'll move to end step, and because he controls enough creatures, Growing Rites will flip into Itlamok Cradle of the Sun, ending the turn. Foley will untap, draw, and play a Nomad Outpost tapped, then tap 3 to cast Judith the Scourge Diva before tapping 1 and casting his own Skull Clamp. Foley will throw 1 creature at Adrian for 3 damage, dropping him to 33, then the rest to Lord Wingrace, knocking Wingrace out. On his second main phase, Foley will attach Skullclamp to 1 token, killing it to draw 2 cards, and triggering Bastion of Remembrance, causing each other player to lose 1 life as Foley gains 1. Then, on Foley's end step, Trynn will trigger and generate another 1/1 human token, finishing Foley's turn. Ajdin will untap, draw, and then plays a Dragon Skull Summit before casting Titania, Protector of Argoth. Titania redeploys his Misty Rainforest in the graveyard, which Ajdin will crack to find a forest, dropping Ajdin to 32. This triggers Titania, creating a 5/3 token. He'll then tap the forest to cast Exploration, which lets him drop Smoldering Marsh before he ends the turn. Round 6, Calvin will untap, draw, and then drop a Mistfield Plains tapped, before moving to end step and drawing his card as the Monarch, passing the turn. Adrian will untap, draw, then he'll play a Soul Rain. He'll tap his Itlamok Cradle of the Sun for 4 green mana, spending 2 to cast Nature's Lore and another 2 to cast Farseek. He'll get an untapped forest, and he'll get a tapped island this way. Adrian will then tap Kira's Follower to untap the Cradle, which he'll then retap to add another 4 green to his mana pool. He'll tap 3 islands and spend most of his mana to level up his Enclave Chronologist 3 times. He'll then pass the turn. Foley will untap, draw, and then play a Smoldering Marsh. Then he'll tap 3 and cast Shared Animosity. He'll throw his creature tokens at Adrian and his legendary creatures at Calvin, paying the 4 mana for Ghostly Prison. Shared Animosity will trigger, but everyone at the table will miss that it buffs attacking creatures based on other attacking creatures, so Adrian is being threatened with 12 damage while Calvin 17, instead of 10 and 15 respectively. Calvin will untap Judith with Maze of Ith and block Trynn with a 3/3, taking no damage, while Adrian will take 12, dropping to 20. Foley will move to end step and create a 1/1 token off Trynn, then on end step, Ajdin will cast Vampiric Tutor, dropping to 30 and finding a Crucible of Worlds. Ajdin will untap, draw, and then cast Crucible of Worlds. He'll play Misty Rainforest, cracking it to find a forest, dropping to 29, and then he'll do it again, dropping to 28 and making 2 5/3 tokens this turn off Titania. Then Ajdin will play Grim Tutor, dropping to 25, and searches for Constant Mists, adding it to his hand. Round 7, Calvin will untap, draw, and then play Windswept Heath, cracking it for a Snow-Covered Plains and dropping to 35. He'll then cast Kanoros, Hound of Athreos, thinking too hard about how it doesn't stop Constant Mists and forgets what the rest of the card does for later.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Then moves to end step. Adrian will tap 3 Merfolk to draw a card off Kumena, and Calvin will draw his card for being the Monarch. Adrian will untap, draw, and then tap Enclave Chronologist to draw a card. He'll then tap his Itlimoc, Cradle of the Sun, for 4 green, then play Simic Growth Chamber, bouncing the Cradle back to his hand. He'll then spend 3 of his floating green to cast Growing Rites of Itlimoc, revealing Marrow Harbinger and adding it to his hand. He'll then tap for 3 more mana to add to the 1 floating to cast Marrow Harbinger. He'll search his library for a Surge Banner off of Marrow's ability, putting it on the top of his library, and then he'll tap Kira's Follower to untap Simic Growth Chamber, to then re-tap it and an island to cast Cold-Eyed Selkie. He'll then cast Master of the Pale Trident before moving to end step and re-flipping Itlimoc. Foley will untap, draw, then play an Unclaimed Territory, naming Humans, before attacking Adrian with his legendary creatures for an erroneous 11 damage. Adrian will block with Thieving Skydiver and Marrow Harbinger, then taps them and Cold-Eyed Selkie to draw a card off Kumena. Adrian's blockers will die in combat. Then Foley will Skull Clamp 1 token, burning everybody else for 1 as he gains 1, and then he'll do it again, bringing him up to 41 and the rest of the pod down to 33, 18, and 23 respectively, as he draws 4 cards. Foley will cast Final Parting, pitching Gerard, Weatherlight Hero, into the graveyard and adding Angel of Glory's Rise to his hand. After Skull Clamping 1 more time, Foley moves to end step, triggering Trynn to make another 1/1 token, while Ajdin activates Deathrite Shaman to exile Chaos Warp and burn the pod for 2. Foley discards his hand to size, pitching Rakdos Signet and a Sevi Triome, ending the turn. Ajdin will untap, draw, and then cast Lord Windgrace for a second time, ticking him up to discard a land to draw 2 cards. Then he'll play Misty Rainforest from the graveyard and crack it, dropping to 21, finding a Cinderglade and creating a new 5/3 token. Then he'll play his second land this turn, Misty Rainforest, and then he'll move to combat, attacking Adrian with 3 elementals. Adrian will block 2, letting 5 damage through as combat kills Master of the Pearl Trident and 1 elemental. Round 8, Calvin will untap, draw, and then play a Badlands before attacking Adrian for 3 with Kunoros, Hound of Athreos, dropping Adrian down to 9 and bringing himself up to 35. Then Calvin will lose 1 life for Mana Confluence to cast Ruinous Ultimatum. Ajdin will activate Deathrite Shaman in response, exiling Wear and Tear to burn the pod for 2. Ruinous resolves, destroying the board except for Foley's legendary creatures. Foley's Bastion of Remembrance triggers twice, and Judith triggers once, which he points at Ajdin. Adrian scoops because we all believe he was at 2 before Bastion triggers, even though he'll be at
5 life.
Afterwards, Calvin will tap 3, losing 1 life to his talisman to cast Vampire Nighthawk. He'll move to his end step and draw his card for being the Monarch. Foley will untap, draw, and then drop a Bojuka Bog tap to exile Ajdin's graveyard. Then Foley will cast Angel of Glory's Rise, reanimating his entire graveyard even though Calvin controls Kunoros.
You're not really fine.
Gerard, Weatherlight Hero, and General's Enforcer will enter the battlefield, then Foley will attack Ajdin with Judith and Trynn. Ajdin will cast and buy back Constant Mists, sacrificing his forest and taking no damage. During Foley's end step, he'll make a 1/1 token off of Trynn and pass the turn. Ajdin will untap, draw, and drop and crack a Wooded Foothills, finding a mountain. He'll then cast Lord Windgrace again, leaving 2 mana up for Constant Mists. Ajdin will tick Windgrace up to discard a land and draw 2 cards before ending the turn. Round 9, Calvin will untap, draw, and then cast Windborn Muse. He'll attack Lord Windgrace with just the Hound, dealing 3 damage and gaining 3 life. Calvin will move to end step, drawing his card for being the Monarch. Foley will untap, draw, then play a Plains, then try to cast Silvar, Devourer of the Free, and Fiend Hunter for a combo kill. But this is when Calvin reads his fucking cards and everything backs up.
They ask you how you are.
Foley will instead cast Fiend Hunter first, exiling his Angel of Glory's Rise, and then he'll cast Cleansing Nova, destroying the board. Fiend Hunter will trigger to return the Angel, and Judith will trigger twice for seeing the non-legendary creatures die. She'll deal 1 damage to Ajdin and Calvin, triggering No Mercy and killing her. Then Angel of Glory's Rise will enter the battlefield, returning Fiend Hunter, General's Enforcer, and Judith back to play. Fiend Hunter will trigger again, and Foley will tuck Angel underneath the Fiend Hunter again. And he'll then pass the turn. Ajdin will untap, draw, then take up Lord Windgrace, discarding a land and drawing 2 cards. He'll then cast Rumap Excavator so he can drop Stomping Ground from his graveyard for his land for turn, and then he'll cast Wayward Swordtooth so he can drop a forest as well, before dropping a Pernicious Deed, leaving 3 mana up before passing the turn. Round 10, Calvin will untap, draw, and then drop a Scrubland before passing the turn and drawing his card as the Monarch. Now Foley will untap, draw, and then cast Silvar, Devourer of the Free in order to...
From the very
Beginning. So, Silvar is going to eat Fiend Hunter, As Fiend Hunter dies and goes to the graveyard, Judith is going to ping Calvin and Ajdin for 1 each.
Important caveat. Even though this would normally kill Judith, we have an indestructible enabler, so Judith is just going to laugh at that.
As Fiend Hunter hits the graveyard, Angel of Glory's Rise is going to come back.
Yep.
We're returning all humans to the battlefield. Fiend Hunter will enter the battlefield trigger and exile Angels of Glory's Rise. Silvar will then eat Fiend Hunter again, and the same process will start all over.
And you'll do this like 9 billion times?
And I'll do this 22 more times to kill a Calvin. Or sorry, 11 more times to kill Ajdin, and then 12 more times to kill Calvin.
I cast Angel's Grace. Do it again on my upkeep. All right, that's it.
Oh, yeah, that seems good. Good game, gentlemen. I'm not shaking anyone's. I'll shake your hand. Fuck Calvin right in this game.
So, let's talk about it. The Kumena deck did what the Kumena deck does. It was the first one knocked out because when Adrian plays the Kumena deck, Adrian either wins or is the first one knocked out. It's a table full of people who are scared of him in that deck. At least I am. You've seen it before. You're going to see more of it. This isn't the best showing of the deck. We'll move on from there. The Queen Marchesa deck had a few impactful plays. Queen Marchesa in particular is always a fun Mardu commander because it solves Mardu's biggest weakness, card draw. Get it out as fast as possible, protect yourself, you have hand advantage. But then from there, this particular list didn't have that many impactful plays. Besides the Ruinous Ultimatum that won the game at the end, or at least killed Adrian at the end, as well as the Hound, or more so my inability to read my fucking cards. But sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. In the future, listen, commenter, I know you wanted the quality over the quantity, but we had to learn this lesson at some point, and I really wanted this video to come out, so... The Lord Wingrace, this is a really good showing of how Titania can just overwhelm a board. The fact that with a fetch land, it's just 5-3, and the 5-3, you get any, like, land recursion effects, 5-3, 5-3. That's really what killed Adrian in the end, this overwhelming big power advantage Ajdin had. And also, I really want to make a comment on Deathrite Shaman. I was kind of blown away the first time he activated it to burn the pod for 2. I didn't realize it was each opponent. It was that is a spicy way from the beginning of the game to start ticking away at everyone's life total. And then finally, let's talk about the Trynn partner deck. This is the reason why I wanted this video to come out. It ended in a combo from back in my youth when I played Standard. Angel of Glory's Rise and Fiend Hunter. The deck did some other pretty impressive things. Trynn, in particular, I was really impressed when I actually finally saw her in action. All she needs is something to attack to make a token. And then Bastion of Remembrance. If you do anything to the token and it dies, the pod gets burned for 1. It's a really, really powerful synergy with this, the Aristocrat style. And I kind of want to build my own version. But then also you saw how the game ended. Ignoring the fact that I can't read my fucking cards. The combo was, you saw how it worked. I would say the MVP of the game was probably Ruinous Ultimatum for ruining Adrian's day. Or it was the Hound and me for not being able to read my cards. If you like this video, please be sure to hit the buttons. My eyes hurt. These are my wife's prescription glasses and I've been wearing them for this whole video. Now everything is pain. Been Tuesday for so long, man. After this video goes up, I gotta do that Godo game. Bye.